Hello, everyone. My name is Daniel Crane, and I am the program director for the Center for Creative Entrepreneurship. And you are listening to Global Industry Spotlight. We are streaming live out of the Comcast Business Startup Studio, located at 2112, Chicago's first music, film, and tech incubator. Now you can become a CCE member. We're really excited to launch this membership. You can support our programs and join our community of music entrepreneurs. With the membership, you can get mentorship from the CCE team and our music industry experts, free admission to events, 15% off of Shure and Reverb products, and you have access to our Making Money with Music course. Please visit cceglobal.org to learn more about that. Upcoming event this Saturday at the Music Bloom is back. We will be in Garfield Park at the Black Room at 4015 West Carroll Avenue. We're excited to kind of kick the series off this year. We did it last year. It was very successful, and we're connecting with different kind of community organizations, music organizations in the city, in different neighborhoods. So speaking of the Black-Room, we'll be discussing with the two co-founders of the Black-Room, Camila and Senite, founded the Black-Room, a safe, nurturing space with events, workshops, performances, and various other avenues for artists and creatives of all types to thrive and succeed in their respective mediums. Welcome.
Thank you.
So it's great to have you here. I admire your work. I admire your space, which I was able to see a couple weeks ago. I think what I'd like to start with is just the vision behind the Black-Room, how it started, and then we can kind of go from there.
Yeah, so founded the Black-Room in 2021. The original thought was just to create space for my friends and people that were within my network. I'm a vocalist. I'm a jazz vocalist. I'm an artist. Needed space to record and rehearse, and got the opportunity to have a spot. Everyone around me, my friends included, did not have the space to do that. Didn't have the space, didn't have the resources, didn't have all the time, didn't have the access, didn't have the money. So it was kind of birthed out of the necessity for that resource, for that space. And over time, the network grew and it expanded. Senite became a member. Some other friends became a member. And then we kind of developed the membership program since then. And Senite came on the team really early on, and it kind of evolved into this big, magnificent thing that it is today.
And where was the first location?
Yeah, so it was like a 200 square foot space.
Oh, small.
Super small.
Yeah. Okay.
And right across the street from Grant Park, so like West Loop area.
Yeah. Or Douglas Park.
Yeah,
it was like near Music Garage.
Okay.
So it was pretty central, but like definitely way more in the city than we are now, for sure.
And so did you have just basically different people coming in to record, and you saw this opportunity? Oh, like this is actually almost a community space now.
Yeah, so we had people coming in to record. We had friends coming in to rehearse. And then we kind of realized, and I realized really quickly, that not only just my immediate network, but a lot of other people, specifically Black and Brown people, needed access to the resource and the space, the equipment that we had in there, the level of accessibility that it was, the natural light that we had in there was really nice. It was a really great environment to just create. And it, like I said, it just grew from there. It was crazy.
And so what prompted you to create like a membership model for the space?
I think in Senite, but then when you feel ready, I feel like we realized very quickly, and we kind of started the membership model knowing that the $60 an hour, the $70 an hour recording model, specifically within the music industry, was just not something I could do, not something we can do. And it just wasn't intuitive. It didn't really make sense for like building community structured around like a transactional, approach to, creative building and community building. So we did a lot of beta testing, and we had our old space, and we were working through like the kinks and the contracts and what it evolved into. And now we have a pretty structured, foolproof program where we have our memberships running.
Yeah, it was more like, it also at first wasn't established as a membership program. It was literally like maybe like 5 of us that like paid an amount a month to come in the space as many times as we want to. So we kind of, it was there, but it wasn't named yet. We weren't, it was like our friends. So we were like, okay, let's trust each other. And then eventually, once it was like, oh, more people need this, I had like a developmental background in nonprofits and like my own corporate background. So I was like, I really want to be helpful for this process to be, more open to the public. And then that was when I kind of came on board. And then from there, we were like, let's open this to the public. Let's make it a contractual agreement. Let's have like an interview process, an application process where people actually were presenting the things that they wanted to do. And I think even with that, it had to be project based. We wanted you to have a goal at the end of your membership where you like completed something, versus like if people were just like, oh, we just want to be there just to be there. We wanted to make sure that there was some type of intention with opening the membership program to the public. But yeah, since then,
this was during the first space.
Yeah,
you kind of like beta testing and seeing what would work out.
It was like, because then Camila found it September 2021, and I want to say until like February it was just like friends, like February. It was just friends. And then that was when I came on board. And then I was like, I want to like help this grow. I also had my own network where other people were like, can we be a part of this? And then from there, we just did it like really simple through Instagram, like on a form, and like you fill it out on the form. And only like our friends knew what it was at first. And thankfully, like I was performing at the time, so a lot of like the people that were seeing my shows, like I was trying to promote it as much as I could. So the application numbers were pretty small, but it made it really easy to create community, because then we had like 8 people that were members a month, and then that created its own community. Then we had people refer other people. So from there to, I want to say that was February 2022 to December 2022. That was like constant. We were like on a cyclical basis having like 8 to 12 members in the space. For that really small space, they could book however much time they wanted to throughout the month. And then we lost our space in January, which gave us more time to do like community outreach stuff and more partnership stuff.
And so let's talk about this new space. Which is beautiful, by the way. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So what kind of, how did you find this space? What was
it was a process. It was a process. Finding the space, because you never intend to like lose something that you build. So it wasn't a shock, but it was like, okay, now we gotta pivot a little bit. We kind of gotta change the course of action. So we lost our space in 2023, and throughout that period of time, while we were continuing to push programming, while we were continuing to spread our outreach initiatives, and we can talk a little bit more about that, and continue to push the mission, Senite and I, on different accounts, and together we were looking on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist and talking to realtors and just doing everything that we could to try and find a viable space that had light, that would allow for music, that we could have autonomy over what we were trying to do within the programming. And eventually that led us to the West Side, would be a space that was accessible and within the communities that we were trying to reach. So I found a space in November.
So we didn't have a space from January 2023, and then from there to November, all we were doing were like partnerships and using other people's spaces and doing the community outreach stuff. And then by that point, I want to say from like August to November, we were looking at spaces like all the time. And then Camila found the spot.
I was like, oh my God. I called her,
that was
like,
crazy.
Oh my God. I feel it in my chest. Like, this is where we have to be at. We scheduled another time for Senite to come through, and it was all dilapidated and dirty,
wall falling apart, and
we had to paint the space again. We cleaned it out how it is today. We cleaned for like days, like we scrubbed the floor.
Was it just the two of you doing all this?
Yes.
And
like it was like
friends and
but like
like
if it was anyone putting in the hours, it was mostly only us. But like we had like friends and family, but like not much. It was like probably 4 people on a like cyclical basis. I'm like so grateful for my friends that were like, I could reach out to any of them and they would just come whenever it made sense. But for the most part, it was like we were putting the hours in, for it's like the most
crazy. Moving furniture out of my apartment up north and bringing it out west because that's what we had at the time, and
buying equipment and building stuff, you know, doing auctions and it was cutting things. But it was like, I mean, the process was difficult. I think we didn't look at it as difficult. It was more motivating because we knew we had a goal, because it was November. We were like, by January we should be mostly settled in. And then thankfully we were right above Chicago Tool Library. So literally we could just waddle downstairs and get a shop vacuum and clean up real nice, or use a saw, or have them help us with things. So they were just like a blessing to be like conveniently moved above from. But it was definitely a process for sure.
And in terms of like you continued the programming, what do you feel like the Chicago, like your community, what do they need? What are they asking for? What are some of the gaps that you see, you know, with the outreach?
I feel like there are so many gaps, specifically as artists of color and women. There was just a gap in, I think, intentional partnership and, you know, clear community building. So whenever we reach out to partners, whether it's music related or whether it's like creative arts based or whether it's like business, creative entrepreneurship, it's always with that thread in mind of making sure that that we're creating like a safe environment for the people that we're in community with. But so many gaps, like there aren't enough programs that talk about or give access to artists learning how to become profitable musicians, or, you know, being able to push those programs within themselves. Access to artist showcase events. We had like DJ events where we were having artists come in and do specific things. Education-based stuff. We've been working with an organization called Afro-Rack that does a lot of great stuff, work with modular synthesis. So there's a really wide range of gaps in access that we try to pinpoint through our partnerships.
And I feel like in these, you know, in these kind of organizations, right? It's like you want to give back to the community, you want to tap in, you want to provide access, but how do you make it sustainable? And that's always like the question of, you know, you have the space, so you now have a rent or a lease, you have, you know, heating. I mean, whatever your deal is, that, you know, there's like all the expenses of it,
right?
And it's like, you know, finding that balance of being able to cover that, obviously pay for your time as well,
right,
and create community. I mean, this is the work, right? That's the hard work. What have you found, you know, with membership or that has worked in terms of being able to be sustainable? And are you guys a nonprofit?
No.
Okay.
So currently we're operating as a small business, but we're fiscally sponsored by an amazing organization called Elastic Arts. They were like a mentor of ours. Camila works closely with Elastic. I've done some shows at Elastic. So it's really nice being fiscally sponsored by them because they were also just like really helpful for our process. But I will say, for us to have like a seamless programming experience, I guess, it was important, especially when we didn't have our space, that we stayed true to our mission, which was creating opportunities that were affordable and accessible for POC artists and creatives. The opportunity when we had the space was for them to have access to a space, right? So when we didn't have the space, we were like, we could still create opportunities here. We were doing a DJ series in the space when we had it, the smaller one. But we were like, let's continue it. So we partnered with Elastic and we did a showcase there. The reason why that was important was we were like, I mean, as any artist understands, you can't get booked for a show unless you've been booked for a show before. So like for DJs, it was like, you can't get booked to be a DJ if you've never been booked before. So then for us, it was like, this is perfect because then they'll have content that they can show to somebody that's like, well, I've done this video. You could see my set here. I think that was where it was strategic. I think it's also about intention as well, where every partnership we had, we made sure that we aligned in terms of mission. Obviously, Elastic is a performing arts organization, but they also are completely servicing artists that are in need of a space or access to opportunities as well. So it was really easy. It was like, oh, this is perfect. I think it was also just a matter of like understanding each other and who we're partnering with, where we're like, we have to really sit down and look at everyone's websites and be like, okay, like we see alignment here and there, or their goal or our vision. I think that was really simple in terms of understanding and kind of like weeding out who we worked with. I think we also understood, like Camila and I made the sacrifice where we were like, any funding we got, we were not paying ourselves. Like we still don't pay ourselves. And like it was really just because we were making the investment to the idea of the space, right? So like we knew we wanted to make the commitment of creating this opportunity for artists. We also believe in like good karma and that it'll come back to us whenever it's time and whenever it makes sense. I think also just understanding our own capacity. The Black Room is our child, but it's not our full-time job, but basically almost we give our all to it as well. So I think with that, it's almost just a matter of our organization skills, are both of our own backgrounds in marketing and strategy and coordination, where we are like, okay, we have an idea. This is how we make it seamless. I think also Camila and I, in terms of our partnership, I have strengths and weaknesses. Camila has strengths and weaknesses, and we kind of just meet each other where we need to be. So I think like Camila has like a million ideas, and I could be like, let's out of the 1 million, let's use 100,000. And for me, it's then Camila would be like, now we're at 100K, let's bring it down to 4. And then we'll just, we have a million things that we want to touch on, like Camila said earlier, where we knew that there were a lot of gaps. But even with that, everything that we're doing is strategic. Where every partnership, every event, every member, every collective member, we know what that timeline looks like. So it's also just a matter of like goals and, projection.
And give us the breakdown of a member, right? So how do you become a member of the BlkRoom? What does membership include? Or what does it cost?
Right.
I mean, what can people expect?
So we're a member-based program. You can apply on our website as an individual member. We currently have our collective memberships closed, but our memberships basically work as individuals and collectives. Creative collectives get to use our space, our resources on a monthly basis. It's a 2-month membership. Individuals pay $150 a month and collectives pay $200 a month. Individual members get to utilize our recording facilities, all of our equipment. They get to co-work in the space. They get to have rehearsal in the space. We were recently gifted an amazing whisper room.
Yes, I saw the whisper room. And that was gifted from...
That was through like 3 people. WBEZ, right, to City Bureau, from Ergo.
Yeah.
But
I was in that booth.
Yes, you were.
I interviewed my mom and my dad.
Oh, yeah.
It was what was the program called? I totally forgot.
At WBEZ, right?
It was at the Cultural Center.
Yeah.
And it was like, I forgot the name of it, but it was like some story core or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's awesome.
Well, now it's at the BlkRoom.
Yeah.
I know you had like a little mirror moment.
I know. I like touched it. I was like,
the
Mom, Dad.
But it's another resource for our members to use. So our whole goal is for the space to be as well-rounded as possible. We're constantly updating equipment and we're constantly trying to add more resources into the space. But the goal is for individual members and collective members, which focus more on programming and workshop building and community building, is for them to use the space as much as they can in however many ways they want. So that's kind of how it operates and how it works.
Yeah, how the process goes. We have like our individual membership, once again, $150 a month. With their contract, it's of course 2 months, so they still pay $150 per each month. But basically through our website, they answer questions about what your goals are for the space. What do you want to work on in the space? How can we service you? What does your setup at home look like? All of those things are important for our process during the exception or the accepting process too, where if someone's like, I've never recorded anything, but I want to work on a project, we know, okay, you're at the priority list where you don't have the access to these resources, but we have it. And then also with projects and stuff like that, if it's something like I want to work on a dance project and we don't exactly have the flooring for it, and we can connect them with somebody else that can give them the opportunity, because we still want to be consistent with our mission, where like if we can't give it to you, we know someone else that could. With that contract, they're basically signing on to use the space however they please from Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. They can use it as often as they like, as little as they like, as long as they like. And then that's for the individual portion. And then for the collective portion, this is organizations, businesses, and collectives with representatives up to 3 representatives. They sign on for $200 a month, and those are mostly event based. But sometimes it's just a collective that needs a space to have meetings and host presentations or things like that. But with their contract, they're also signing on for 2 months where they can host as many events as they'd like, which we would be either a partner in, or they could just include that into their membership. And it's been working so far. It's been great.
Yeah, I think it's really important to have these type of spaces.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a space when I was coming up called Q4.
Okay.
And it was the original one was on North Avenue, and it was underground in the basement. And I mean, basically, I went there every night, and there was like jam sessions and shows, and I mean, it wasn't legal, but but at the same time, the amount of people that kind of blossomed out of that space, and went on to have different types of careers, and I'm still tight with those people, to this day. And I think Chicago needs more of that. And it needs those to be not below ground but above ground. Because
in sunlight.
Yes, and in sunlight. Yeah, exactly. Because it really helps incubate and support artists. I tell a lot of people that Chicago is a very talented city, but there's not a ton of industry here. So being able to create spaces for people to like build their own industry, I think is really important.
For sure.
And that's why we, our membership program is building slowly. We want to make sure we're building intentional like community, and everyone's talking to each other, and hey, I'm going to work on this project. You guys want to come in on my session? Or I'm going to be working on this workshop. I was thinking about collaborating with you all because I saw you were doing a bunch of cool stuff over here. So I think it's about like being intentional and being a part of the long game, especially because, like you said, Chicago doesn't have a lot of infrastructure built in.
Right.
And, those things are hopefully starting to grow and build, the Black Room being a part of it, other spaces being a part of it. But that's why community is so important to us.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I tell people if they ask like, advice, I don't really like giving advice, but I just say, find your community. I mean, that's how you thrive. That's how you build. I mean, the people that, I played music with 20 years ago are the people that I still, partner with and create with. And so you guys you both are musicians. Are you doing any projects yourselves?
Yeah. I've had a series called the In My Home series out so far, which is like a series of EPs and singles. So I'm still working on my album, but like currently doing finishing touches on my process, and then also working on a new project with a couple of my other friends, which has been really cool. But obviously a lot of my time goes to the Black Room, so it's a matter of literally having the time to do it, and most of my equipment is in the space, which is something that's a blessing because I get to share it, but also like so far away. But yes, that's what I've been focusing on.
I'm just getting back outside.
Right.
I was a gigging musician for a while. I took a step back, and the Black Room blossomed and is continuing to evolve within that time. But I've been working on projects and gigging regularly and trying to get back outside. But I'm excited to just be reintroduced to specifically like the jazz world and the music world that I was a part of a while ago.
Yeah, and I think it's important for people who are musicians. You're building spaces as artists.
Yeah.
And so there's just a different approach, and like a certain type of empathy and understanding of like what the struggle is.
Right.
Like what's hard about it.
Yeah.
I think that being an artist in general can be very isolating. And you put music out, no one, doesn't get the stream numbers, or no one clicks it, and you just feel like, is anyone listening to me? And to be able to have a community, to tap in with and connect with is like such an important, essential thing. So when I see like spaces like yours, coming up, I'm like so happy. I'm like,
Yeah.
I know Sam has a space that in Bronzeville that he was working on as well, and like just being able to like have these kind of connection points, because it's really important if I meet an artist who is looking for that type of space to be able to like, you go here, because when I was coming up, there were
not options.
There was not really options, and I think that no diss on like club culture, or live music culture.
I mean,
but in general, those spaces don't necessarily cultivate you know they don't cultivate community in the same type of way. Whereas I think spaces where you can create and perform and learn. Amazing. So congrats to both of you.
Thank you.
So in terms of building this, which I feel like is like risky and you don't know what you're doing like half the time, and you make it up as you go. I mean, I'm talking about myself, in ventures, right? This is life. How do you deal with fear or doubt about kind of your vision for the BlkRoom?
Man, I feel like between the two of us, I think it's just been really important that we communicate, that we're just on the same page and moving things in the right direction and pushing the mission and the vision forward. We've been very grateful to have people around us, whether they're mentors like Elastic Arts, or our peers, to kind of like help us push what we're doing forward. We don't know everything, and we're always trying to learn more, and we're always trying to reach out to people. And I think one thing about Senite and I is that we're both open to learning and open to making mistakes and moving through them. So I mean, we say this a lot, but we're also both Aries, so we kind of like try and push things.
Just try to just your game right away.
So it's just like, you know what? Like, yeah, we're scared. Yeah, this is different.
Right.
We've both never done this before, but we're just gonna keep going, because that's when when you stop is when things don't happen.
Right.
So even during that period of time when we didn't have a space, we could have easily just dropped it and left it alone.
Yeah.
But, now we're here and we're grateful and excited to continue to evolve the mission and the program, and grow our team, and, to continue to push this resource to the city. So that was my little 2 cents.
I also think it's about accountability, like just being for real. Like that's just the biggest thing. I think that was where Camila and I made sense as a partnership, where like all I am is like extremely realistic. And I think, I'll give Camila her flowers where, sometimes Camila be reaching for the stars and I'm like, we can't get there. She's like, let's just try. And for me, it's like, well, it's so far. And then she's like, no, let's just go. So I think it's a matter of like being literally like, you know what? Sometimes Camila has to come down. Sometimes I just have to go up. I think we both have to just be like, no, let's just take this risk. I think we knew that getting this bigger space could have been something hurtful. But also like the thing that was motivating this the entire time was like, we know that no matter what, there are a million people that need this. Like our vision eventually is to expand to all over the world, and like the motivation behind that is like so many other people need this space. But I think also just dealing with fear in that way, like I mean constantly I'm like, I think first I'm always like, my instinct is like worst possible situation, very like right away. And I think that's why we make sense as a partnership, is Camila's like best possible situation. And I'm like, no, like that's not gonna happen. And Camila's like, no, like let's just, which can make me seem negative, but I think it's also just a matter of reality. Like the world ain't so nice. But I do think it's about accountability, where we just have to be like, you know what? We already came in here knowing how risky this could be. We might as well just keep going. And I think also, just like Camila said, we're also very open to learning, where we kind of want to make mistakes, where we can actually like persevere through them. I think we're really grateful too, because from where we have come, where we're at now, the amount of mistakes that we've made, we're so grateful to have learned, because then we'll see other people in their process and we'll be like, don't do that, because we did that and we messed up.
Do the LLC
and, yeah,
first,
you know, like don't go try to throw on these parties without no license. But I think it's really just because we've learned. And we also really appreciate when people correct us, and we know how important it is to correct. It's also just in our partnership as well, correcting each other, being like, I feel like this process doesn't work, or because of our own different backgrounds, it works really well, where something I know for sure could happen could be something Camila doesn't know yet, or vice versa. But I think honestly, fear is the last thing on our mind anymore. It's more just like, we already here. We might just go.
Yeah. No, those are both great answers. You guys have such energy together. Yeah, I mean, just in terms of grounded, is what I would say. Like, you meet a lot of people and you can kind of sense like they're all over the place, or they're like talking a lot, and I can, you like, you feel that insecurity, right?
Yeah, it took us some time to get there, though.
Yeah, it takes everyone time, and we all have phases in life, but I think from what I sense and feel from you is like you're building something really impactful and important for the community, but also for yourselves.
Thank you.
And that you guys have a great partnership, and great partnership is amazing. That's something that we all need. We can't do it alone. And so I appreciate that and admire it when I see people really like doing the work. It's awesome. So final question of the podcast, of the Global Industry Spotlight. Give us a book or a podcast or a song or something that inspires you, like personally or professionally.
I have like a lot in mind. I think there's one Think Smarter, Not Harder.
Okay.
That's probably the wrong title. I do love Armchair with, I think, Dax Shepard. I do love a good Red Table Talk in terms of like if I'm trying to just expand my knowledge. But I also just love watching like videos of either like people that do walkthroughs of their space or people that do podcast interviews that like I admire, whether they're curators or creators. I also just love seeing like my curator friends out and about and just chopping it up with them as well. But yeah, that's my recommendation.
Yeah, I feel like more recently I've been trying to listen to music more.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't, as a musician and as someone who works within music, I don't listen to music as much as I should. But I've been listening to a lot of DJ sets. If you've heard of Black House Radio on YouTube, I've been bumping that a lot. It's been getting me excited to just creep into, other new artists and the things that they have going on. So that's been inspiring me a lot.
Yeah, no, I feel like I made a conscious decision like a couple of years ago to like listen to music that's being released this year.
That's smart.
I just found myself kind of going back to the things
all the time, right?
That I'm used to, and it's just amazing. Like every year, how many artists are putting out.
Let me put you on. I'm like, I will send you playlists.
Yeah, send me a playlist.
That's great.
Yeah. And then side note, I don't know if you guys have seen Jingle Jangle. Okay, so Jingle Jangle is this incredible Christmas film, but my daughter loves the music from it, and so she wanted to hear it this morning. And I let the whole thing play through. I listened to the whole record.
Soundtrack.
Yeah, John Legend did it. I was like, it's so good.
When did this come out?
It came out. It's an awesome.
Really?
I know it's like, I just want to say,
no, who cares?
My daughter made the request, and I was like,
love that.
And it struck me of like, man, these people just made this music for a movie. It's so good. It's so arranged. It's vocal, like all the vocalists they got. I'm like, and it's inspiring because I think with any project, it takes so much, right? So much talent, so much organization to make beautiful things. So, anyways, I want to thank you both for joining me today. It's great. I'm so glad we're connected. I'm so glad that I got to learn about the Black Room and that we're going to be producing an event this Saturday, 4 p.m. at the Black Room. Check out the link below. It's going to be a great event. Again, my name is Daniel Crane. I'm the program director for the Center for Creative Entrepreneurship, and you have been listening to Global Industry Spotlight. We are streaming live out of the Comcast Business Startup Studio, a space located at 2112, Chicago's first music, tech, and film incubator. Thanks to Comcast Business and Shore for providing the tools necessary to make this podcast happen. Visit ccglobal.org. Check out our membership. Check out the resources that we're putting out. The music series is back. We have events that are going to be happening, obviously, this Saturday at the Black Room, Hyde Park Arts Center in August. We're going to be in Bridgeport in collaboration with the Latinx Music Festival at the end of August. And we have some things planned in October and November. So wishing everyone a great and inspiring rest of their day. And we will speak with you soon. Thanks.
Love it. Peace. Thank you.